Hi, I'm Marcus Coward, and this is Wake Up New Bedford. I'm here with Justin Callender, and we are here for part 2 of our conversation. In part 1, to sum it up, we were talking about his business Amped, that is part networking, part open mic, part music production, but really trying to get people connected with each other, but creatives, okay? And we touched a little bit upon his cooking ability and how he's roping that in order to cater for some of his events. And so we'll get a little bit more into his music and how that's involved in Amped and his future in 2025. But just to touch upon it, you know, because I'm really interested, man of many talents.
I appreciate it.
Where does cooking come from for you and your inspiration for it?
Yeah, so as a kid, I don't know, I've just always been interested in cooking. My roommates in college used to laugh, but even as a kid, I used to just watch like Food Network, the cooking channels. You know,
Sure.
as a kid,
Okay.
like switch from cartoons to that.
Really?
Even in college, they'll walk in, I just have it on like while I'm making music or
Okay.
whatever. So I've always loved food. I think as a creative person, it's just another way to express yourself, you know. And yeah, I started just making, I'm so used to saying making music. I
Yeah.
started cooking as a kid.
Okay.
As a teenager, I really started getting into it. But yeah, just as a kid, helping my mom in the kitchen, learning about it.
Sure.
Peeling the shrimp, getting freaked out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then yeah, I just started taking it serious. I think as a teenager is when I started like really trying to like make a sauce from scratch and really like get into it myself. You know. And then I really spent my 20s diving in, like going to a restaurant, trying to figure out like what flavors is that, and looking up recipes. And
Okay.
I think a lot of people scroll on social media and like the food, and you see but I actually will try to make it. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
really take it serious, and so yeah, food has been a big part of how I've spent like the past decade, really diving in as a form of art for me.
Okay. You say form of art. Did it start? I mean, when you were young and you clearly saw that you had an interest in cooking, did you see it as more of just a personal venture, or did you see it as I might be able to make a business out of this?
No, I think I just enjoyed it. Just one of those
Yeah.
things, you just see it, you know, it's just cool to be able to make food from scratch and, you know, to have people taste it and smile, you know, just, I wasn't thinking about business, and even for me, I don't think as a kid I seen it as art neither. I just seen it as like just a cool thing, you know, like this is cool to be able to make food from, and it seems important, right? It's a very important skill,
Absolutely.
you know, so
Yeah.
I think, you know, as a teenager, you start to look at like how to shape yourself as a young adult and just how to be skillful, you know, so I was like, man, you know, the fact that I love food is a good skill. Let me take it serious. Just so, you know, we eat every day, right? So it's
Yeah,
like, if you're not going out to a restaurant, then what are you eating?
Yeah.
You know, especially as an adult, you live by yourself or with your partner or whatever. So I was like, man, this is a good skill to be able to cook great meals every day. You know, like why not? You know, if you're
Yeah.
gonna eat every day, a couple meals a day. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's a great skill to learn. You're gonna use it every day, you know?
So would you ever be interested in working in a restaurant, or no, you like being the private chef kind of type?
Yeah, so probably not a restaurant because
Yeah.
it's too hectic. Like I like
Yeah, it
being,
is.
like I'm passionate about it, but it's like I don't want to be running around scrambling. So I like being creative, you know.
Yeah.
So like I've done some meal prep, which gives me control over the menu. Like I said, private chef, something that I can control the pace a little bit more.
Sure.
You know. But yeah, definitely not a restaurant. you
Yeah,
know.
'cause
Unless it was my own, but even still, then it would be
Okay.
like small. You know, I don't picture
Yeah.
like big thing, big room, like
Sure.
you know. So. Yeah, I've thought about that, you know. I just don't know if it fits in my schedule now because with the food, you got to commit, you know. And I think when I'm getting to networking and music, I do need the weekends or, you know, I just came from a networking event in New York. So, like, I don't want to tell people, hey, I'm not able to meal prep for you this weekend because I'm, you know.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard to really build it and make it consistent because I need the flexibility to move around. So maybe I'll just tuck it for now as far as business-wise and then figure it out later, you know, but.
So do you have regular clients, like repeat clients, as far with your food?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I started off with the food, just making the content, just something to do.
Sure.
And then I think one day last summer, I was like, man, for some reason, why am I not selling a plate? You know, like that never
Yeah.
came across my mind.
Okay.
So I jumped out there, you know, I made a social media post, people liked it. So I started selling plates to go on Thursdays.
Okay.
So from like 5 to 8, you know, I'd have just one meal. You could come, you know, order it or not, pick it up from the house. And then that turns into people wanting a little bit more. So I ended up doing meal prep, and now I just drop it off for people on Mondays.
Okay.
So I think this year, fortunately, it might slow down because of, again, flexibility and schedule changing. But what was the question? I don't even, how did I?
No, we were talking about repeat clients.
Oh, clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, so I do have people. I would say it's about maybe like 10 people
Really?
each week.
I'm not surprised, but that's just impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, some of it's family, some of it's just friends or people that I've known me for something else, and I tell them, or I post about it and they'll respond to the post. So I do think if I were to take that more serious, I could really build a clientele. But like I said, I don't want to dive in too deep and have to disappoint people with my schedule being unbalanced. So.
Because that must be a major time commitment.
It is. Yeah. You gotta lock in.
Yeah.
You do. And it's it's a lot of food. People order, especially with the meal prep, because before it's like one plate at a time, but now people are like, hey, let me get 4 plates for the week. So it's a lot of food. You know, it's time consuming. It's fun. It can be a little stressful. But it is time consuming. Sometimes I even that much food you gotta prep the day before. So it's like. For me to really commit to this, I wish I could dive in, but because I have so many other things like music, this year, because I haven't dropped in so long, this is a big music year for me, So I think sometimes we could get overwhelmed with time and it's hard to manage it. So, I think the past couple of weeks, I've done a good job of saying like what needs to get done and what can I tuck. Like I'm passionate about the food, but if it's not gonna help me with my goal this year, unfortunately, it doesn't make me feel good, but it's like, I have to put it away for a little while, and that's what you got to do. You do what you have to do. So.
And so, what is your goal this year?
Man, this is a big year for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't dropped music I've been making music, but I haven't dropped music since 2018. So. I've been working on this album, the first self-produced album.
Okay.
So make all the beats, I'm mixing everything myself. I have a couple of features, but aside from that, so I'm really doing like 98% of the project, just me 100%, So it takes a while, and I'm pretty passionate about the quality, So the mix, does it sound good? Does the drums sound, is it loud, all that stuff?
Yeah.
The beats, are they different? I don't want to sound like somebody else, So I've been spending a lot of time on that. So putting out the music is probably #1 goal for me this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have a set date?
Not yet. Hopefully in the spring. I have a couple things I want to tie up, so I don't want to commit. But I'm hoping in the spring. Definitely first half of the year. I'll say that for sure.
Is it done?
Almost done. I'm tying some things up.
Yeah.
Waiting on like another feature or two. Something like over the next couple of months, I should definitely be able to wrap up.
Sure.
Especially now that that's my main goal, and I'm putting some of these other things aside. And instead of cooking on the weekend, I can record the verse. I can do what I have to do. So now it's like, all right, we're so close to being done. Let's wrap it up, because you can push this on forever. Like music, it's not like cooking where at some point the meal is done. Like the chicken is cooked, it's gonna be overcooked. Like you can keep adapting and be like, oh, not that song, let me switch to outro. You can kind of keep doing it. At some point you do have to lock in. So now that I know what the project is supposed to feel like and sound like, it's like, all right, final notes, let's get it done.
Okay. So by the end of 2025, if you were gonna introduce yourself, say, hi, I'm Justin Callender, would you first say you're a musician, or would you first say you're a businessman? How would you introduce yourself to people?
So I usually say I'm an artist and producer, and I do open mic and networking events. Because once I introduce the passion, it kind of makes sense why someone like me is doing events.
Sure. Okay.
So I lead with that now.
Yeah.
But I can't forget the events, though. I got to throw it in like, hey, by the way, I do event. Yeah.
Okay. And so. Talk to me a little bit about that networking event in New York. Okay.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. So, so a little background, a little story. So I'm gonna get to the point. So my birthday is late December, so December 28th.
Okay, really?
And I think we just talked about that. I just turned 30. A couple of weeks ago.
And again, happy birthday.
I appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. So I just turned 30, and my girl turned 30 last August.
Okay.
So for our birthdays, 30 is a big year. We booked a cruise, which is my second cruise. We just went on one in December.
Okay.
Like the second week, I think it started the 13th or whatever it was. So I knew that as far as dates, we booked the cruise, and that was gonna take up a week, and then after that's the holidays. So I don't have too much time to really bounce around. So I seen this networking event for producers in New York months ago, like in the summer, but I knew, hey, in December it's gonna be hectic. I'm probably not gonna make it,
Okay.
And I assumed it was a weekend, so I was like, it's not gonna work. But when I got back from the cruise, which we got back on a Friday, I believe that Saturday I seen the ad for it again, and it was the following month. It was that Monday, so like 2 days coming up, networking event for producers, meet up. If you get there early enough, you can play your music.
Okay.
So I was like, man, I'm so busy. Do I want to go to New York? Like, it's close enough we drive, but I'm like, man, do I want to drive there, come back? I'm trying to figure it out.
It'd be like an all-day thing.
Yeah, you know, so I was trying to figure that out, but Mondays is my lightest day as far as like most freedom.
Sure.
So I was like, the fact that this event is on a Monday kind of feels special.
Yeah.
You know, like, why is this networking event on a Monday? That's kind of strange. You know what I mean?
It is.
Especially music, creative people, it's usually the weekend. So I thought about it. Then Sunday I bought the ticket, and then Monday I drove out. You know, me and my girl drove out there in the afternoon.
Okay.
Started at 5. We got there like 4 o'clock.
Okay, yeah.
Stayed there till 10, 11 o'clock, and then drove right back.
Shoot.
You know what I mean? So
okay. So before, you were talking about another event. You showed up, I think you said you started at 5. You got there at 6:30. Totally normal. Like I said, you wanted to get there when it warmed up. Okay, actually see how everyone was feeling.
Yeah.
For this one, you got there early. Okay.
I feel like I had to because it was so far. You know, I didn't want to miss the opportunity.
Sure.
And because I knew there was going to be, so there was like 200, 250 producers in it.
Wow.
Like, it was at a venue, like a rooftop, like bar/lounge. So it was big enough, like kind of like a club almost, where you know, it was a lot of people. So they said first come, first served on the list as far as playing your music.
Sure.
So I'm like, if I'm driving 4 hours, I'm gonna play my music. So I have to get there early.
Absolutely.
You know. And I do feel like because it started at 5 or 6, that I was gonna, you know, a lot of people get out of work at 5. So I was like, yeah, if I can get there, I can beat them to it, get in line,
literally
boom,
be
boom.
the first one in there.
Because I'd hate to go to this event and, you know, maybe I could still network, but to not play my music that would be tough. You know, it would suck. So I was like, man, I got to get there early. So do what we had to do, you know.
And were you playing stuff from the album, or previous stuff from previous mixtapes, or what were
No.
you
So
playing?
really, because I could have played songs, but I just played the beats because it was a producer network.
Got you.
You know?
Okay.
So yeah, so I played some beats that are on the album, but just some newer stuff, whatever. So they give you 3 minutes. So some people just played like 1 or 2 beats the whole 3 minutes. But I'm also an audio engineer, so I know a lot about editing, you know. So I was like, man, if I have 3 minutes, it would be smart to just clip up beats 30 seconds, 45 seconds at a time. And now people get 5 or 6 beats. Nobody else did that, you know. So I thought outside the box as far as like, let me edit this, let me do that, you know, make the transition smooth. So it made it easier for people to listen the whole 3 minutes without getting bored.
Yeah.
Hey, that networking event was big for me because, you know, you could be a local producer and feel good, you know, friends, family, local creators, but oh, you're talented. But to go to New York or any other city and kind of be who you are no matter what room you're in, kind of like, I was already taking music serious. I already had the album coming, but it was like, all right, it's time to kick it into high gear. Like, to be, I feel like one of the best producers in that room. You know, a lot of people were telling me that, you know, coming up to me, kind of like exchanging information, checking out my IG. So it's like, it's nice to know that it's not just a local thing anymore. I can go anywhere and be, you know, and be me. So it was like, yeah, it's time to kick it up.
Like, as far as for, and you're gonna be like, no, I didn't. But like, the first thing I want to say was like, you kind of made it in the sense of growing in your production journey, where at first you're like, this is actually really hard. Okay. Where now you can actually be proud of your work and show it, and then people are complimenting you like it's good.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a journey. So like I said, in my 20s, like I said, I was rapping, I could write, but the production, because I don't know how to play instruments.
Sure.
So like, how do you come up with a melody? Like, you don't even know how to do that, you know? That was the most difficult thing. Maybe you can do drums a little bit, figure it out, you know? But yeah, so I'm definitely proud of myself.
How can you, sorry, finish.
No, you're good, you're good.
I just, like, not even keyboard?
No, so I learned it a little bit from making the beats, but I'm saying, like, once I got into the production, like, I didn't know anything about a melody. I didn't know about a key. Hey, press this note, don't hit the other one. You know, like that type of stuff. I had no idea. I had to just learn it. You know?
Got you. Okay. But now you obviously feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. So I definitely got into a rhythm. Even though I still don't really know how to play the instruments, it's just like a rhythm you get into of like knowing what feels right and what, you know. It's hard to explain, really. You know, it's just like it's like a groove. You know, like I said, I've been making beats for like 10 years now. So I just have a way of doing it, figuring out.
And it's really like a whole nother language. I said that before, but I've been in the studio as a rapper, okay? I haven't put out anything, but, you know, as my teenage years, you know, like you said, everyone tries rapping at some point. But watching my good friend learn how to be a producer and then produce for other people, I mean, he committed himself. I mean, like learning on YouTube, but it's hours and hours.
You have to lock in. You
yes,
got to spend a lot of time. You know?
Like you're learning another language.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly,
and so super impressive, but it's kind of hard to explain unless you do it.
Exactly, it is hard. You know, same thing with the audio engineering too, because I think with music people kind of group it in together, which they not familiar with the terms.
Okay,
you
so
know
it's
what I mean?
different.
Yeah, it is different.
Okay, talk about that difference.
Yeah. So this is a good question.
Okay.
So, first as an artist, right? People think, you know, when they hear the favorite artist on the radio, right? They hear their voice and they hear the lyrics and they assume that person wrote the lyrics, right? So as an artist, writing versus performing is totally different. It's two different jobs.
Yeah,
like, you know, like your favorite song on the radio, it could just be written by someone else, and like I said, it's two different jobs.
Oftentimes it is.
Yeah, it usually is. You know, for like the super hits. You know, so the production side, and even though production is different than beat making, that's just beat making is making the actual beat. So when you hear the drums and the instruments, that's beat making. Production is like the mind behind what beat are we choosing, how do we start the song, like producing the full
Putting
song.
the concept together.
Yeah, like how do we do this? So
Absolutely.
you can be a producer and not know how to make the beat. You know? Like, hey, you make the beat, you know, like say you were a beat maker, you know, I'm a producer.
Yeah.
I can say, hey, send me some beats. I'm producing music for these artists. So I don't know how to write, I don't know, I'm the mind behind it, you know?
Yeah, like just really quickly, I saw a clip of Rick Rubin. Yeah, super famous producer, but he was in an interview saying, I know nothing about music.
He knows nothing.
Knows nothing about music,
right.
but he just trusts his taste in music so much, and then it's just open to giving that taste to other people.
Exactly.
And it just works. And he's now one of the best producers in the world.
Right. So that's what it is. The producer's the mind. Beat maker, you make the beats, and the engineer, it's a completely different job. So people get confused. Engineer is the one who makes it sound good. You know, so when you hear the song and you're like, man, it sounds like this person is right sitting next to me singing. Yeah. It's, you know, it's crispy, it's clean, the drums hit hard. It's the volume, like, you know, when you hear like a local artist perform, like the just the audio, not like what they're talking about, not the lyrics, but just the audio and how it sounds coming out the speakers.
Yeah, the quality of it.
Yeah, that difference between like Beyonce, that's the engineer doing his job. So, that's something I've had to pick up as well, you know, because I can be a great beat maker, but like I want it to sound good. And, you know, trying to save money is just like, do I want to send this to an engineer every time? It gets expensive. So as I'm learning how to make beats, you also kind of learn the engineering side. Like, can I use this drum with this bass so they don't clash? So to be a good beat maker, you have to be familiar with some of the frequencies and how things work. Sure. You don't have to be great at it, but you have to get familiar with it. I think a lot of the great beat makers then pass it on to an engineer. Okay. Like, you know, but me, local guy, I'm doing everything myself. So I write the music, record myself, and now after it's all done, I'm mixing it, tweaking little things. So that's some of the tweaks I was talking about on the album. I hear little things, I'm like, this, you know, I have to go in there and tweak it. Even though the song is technically finished, it's just these little things, you know, so it's complex.
Would you still, what do you feel like you're best at in the music genre when it comes to engineering, writing, your voice, production, or beat making? Which would you say is your expertise at this point?
Man, I guess I'm proud to say I'm not really sure. I just let the people choose, you know? Like before I knew what it was and it frustrated, like again, I didn't want to rap on my beats. Like, you know what I mean? And the same thing with the engineering. Like I wasn't passionate about making this sound good. I was just kind of forced to learn it. Like, all right, if I'm gonna be recorded, let me learn it, let me Google it, dive in. Like you said, it's like another language. But at this point, I would still say the engineering, I don't even know. I was gonna say the engineering is third. I still think it's third. I'm gonna lock that in third place.
Sure, all right.
But I don't know if the rapping or the beat making is, beat making might be first, I'm not gonna lie. You know?
I mean, the people like it.
It might be first, so it's hard. I mean, I have music coming soon. Hopefully you'll be the judge of that. You know, but
I'm
still,
excited,
it's just like a nice mix to know I did all of that. Like he made the beat, it sounds good because of him when you compare it to other songs. The quality would be there. So I think I've just, just became like a solid creator, you know what I mean? So.
Okay, and so I have one more question, okay? And so we have a few minutes left, but I before I ask this question, is there anything else you want to plug or add or feel like that I didn't bring up?
Well, we talked a lot about music, but I do have this album coming, you know, so the album's called Blackout. I'm excited for it. It's gonna be about 14 songs. I made the beats, I mixed it all. And yeah, so I'm gonna be dropping music soon. I actually just did some visuals for something. Not a full music video, but some visuals the other day.
Yeah, okay.
So how long does this take to come out? By the time this is out, I might actually have the clip out. I'm not really sure, but
I plan to put it out either probably next week.
gotcha. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
pretty quick. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So
cool,
by
cool.
then, around the same time, I'm gonna be dropping some content music wise. So I know a lot of people have been waiting, and that's coming, man. I think my opinion, and I think a lot of people who've heard some of it, is it's gonna be one of the best albums that a local artist around here has put out. You know?
Okay.
So I'm gonna stand on
and
that.
you're saying that.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so you
yeah.
must feel confident about that.
I really do. You know, and I hope
love
this
the
doesn't
sound of
come
that.
off as arrogance, but I do
at all.
feel so confident about.
You worked hard,
I think people
man.
will love it. Like I think
Yeah.
the lyrics, the voice, like I try hard to not be such, so common. Like, rap, you hear the beat, all right, I know what they're gonna say, you
Yes,
know? Or
yeah.
you hear the melody, I know what the drums are gonna sound like.
Yeah.
Versus me, I feel like I'm getting great at switching that up. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
okay.
send you some music personally so you can listen to
Please.
it, but the
Okay.
album is coming, so that's my goal this year, man, is to just drop this album in. I think at some point you have to, like I said, I built amps, I got frustrated with music, I stopped putting out music because I need people to listen, but I feel like I'm at that point where I know enough people, like I'm networking,
Yeah.
people are listening, people are following me, so it's like, it's time to put it out,
Okay. And so when is your next open mic or networking event? When's your next event?
Networking event, not sure. I think poetry event will probably be Valentine's Day. It does fall on a Friday.
Oh,
So
sure.
we got lucky. So
Okay, that's fire.
We just locked in the venue. I was chatting with them the other day.
Okay.
So I think that's gonna line up pretty smooth. So
Okay. And then Justin Callender, Cal, I'll put a link in the description, but definitely check out his social media so you can get these updates. But my personal question to you, okay, because you just said this once in part one, but I'd love for you to talk about it.
Yeah.
When did you realize that you could problem solve?
Oh man, I don't know. It's just it grows as an adult, like what it looks like. As a kid, you can be good at problem solving. I feel like a lot of kids are though. You're creative, which is something I want to get into, but obviously we don't have time. But
Okay.
I think creativity is like a muscle,
It is.
A lot of kids are creative, but then people, it's like you use it or lose it, one of those things, and
Yeah.
people just stop using it. So I think
Yeah.
I've gone the other way where I've trained it so much.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that, but yeah, I think I've been a good problem solver as a kid, and then the problems get bigger as an adult. So you got to get sharper, you got to figure it out, especially business, right? It's like you got to figure out the proper thing to do, how to manage people, how to manage time, what to do, what not to do. So that's a hard question. I don't know. I feel like that's always been a strength for me,
Which is crazy to say. Like that's not a common thing. Okay, like a lot of people.
Is it not? I don't know.
No, not at all. Like I'm not the best problem solver at all.
Yeah.
Like I can be creative or outgoing or good with people. Like
Yeah.
everyone has their own strengths, but
Right.
problem solving definitely would be mine. I want to. One of the best pieces of advice at the career panel I got this past week was to be a problem solver. And like from if you're an employee, an employer wants someone who is going to problem solve, show agency, initiative. That's going to be a high value employee.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, okay, great. Let me work on my problem solving. But it not only seems so natural. I mean, clearly you said that as a kid you realized that you can problem solve. But how? I'm looking for when did you realize you could use problem solving to turn it into a business? When did you put those two things together?
I don't think I don't think I recognized I could use it to turn it into a business. I think I recognize that it would help me if I decided to start. You know what I mean? Like I'm not thinking, hey, I'm great at problem solving, let me start a business.
Sure.
I'm thinking if I start a business, I think I could figure it out,
Wow.
But
That's
I was always,
confidence.
I think
That's good.
when
Okay.
you talked about where does it come from, I have a question for you real quick. Do you feel like people who are great at math, do you think they're problem solvers?
Yeah.
I think they go hand in hand typically, right?
Oh, and you were saying that you're good at math, and
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I think that's right. I've always been great at math.
Yeah.
In college, for the first 2 years, I majored in mathematics. I did switch it to philosophy and criminology,
Sure.
but I've been the math guy. So I think that side of the brain just comes with like being able to analyze and look at
That's so-
data. And,
because math is my worst subject.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
got you,
math
got
and
you.
then science. I'm more of a history, English guy.
Yeah, that makes sense though. Yeah. No disrespect. I didn't mean to.
No, it's totally fine. I just said it. Okay, but that's so interesting that that's why it's like so oblivious to me and like so untangible. Okay, like problem solving, and I want to work at it in the same way I want to get better at math. And it's not impossible. You just have to. It's more natural for some people, but
Yeah.
so do you? why did you switch from math, and did you not, like as a major, and did you not feel like that could really benefit you in going into business?
Well, at that point, I don't think I was business
Minded? Yeah, because you were still into music.
Yeah. So
okay.
I'm just trying to like build a career and whatever it is. Like I'm the first one in my family to go to college, you know, as far as like close family, cousins, and stuff like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I just picked math just because I was good at it in high school.
Sure.
And I feel like a lot of people don't know what they really want to do. You just kind of get forced into college, and it's kind of a waste of time sometimes, right? A waste of money, but yeah, I was like, I guess I'm good at math. Let me just major in mathematics and figure it out, or maybe get into the engineering side or something like that. But pretty quickly, I just figured like, man, it's not something I really want to do. Like, how is this gonna help me out? And I feel like at that point, I had figured out enough where it's like, I can switch, get into something passionate. I'll figure it out. You know, like I'll be okay financially. I just major in whatever I feel like doing, and I'm good enough, you know, people person, whatever. I have these characteristics where I figure it out. So after, I believe it might have been the end of my sophomore year, I switched. Yeah, I think that was it for me. It's like, I'm not, you know, and I started to lose the passion. And once you lose the passion in the math, it's like, it's hard to like study, you know, so your grades might even drop, or, you know, so it's like, if I'm not passionate about this, like, why am I doing this? If I don't believe in it, I started to stop believing it was the right path for me, you know?
Sure.
And I don't even know if I knew it was the right path. Again, it's just in high school, I'm like, this is what I'm good at, let me just do it. So once I realized this is not really making sense, it's just you lose the passion, you don't feel like following up, you don't feel like doing the homework, I'm like, let me figure something else out, you know what I mean?
And so, do you see yourself settling in on a career at some point, or now you are just in the beginning of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I'm never going back to a career.
Never.
I don't want to say never because, you know, right now I'm trying to figure out, you know, financially you got to line things up, but my goal is to be a full-time entrepreneur. I think I have what it takes. I think AMP is a good base. I think music could help it, doing, you know, networking events, and whether it's local or not, like I'm not sure, you never know where things can go, you know, so, you know, maybe I can do some food on the side, or even if I'm not in charge of the kitchen, start it and then have like a family member, you know, so I think I'm pretty good at starting a business, and hopefully I can have people around me that can help. But in my family, you know, I'm kind of one of those people that people can lean on. I think I'm one of the leaders, so they kind of trust me. So if I'm like, hey, this is a great idea, or like meal prep, if I started it up to where it was a business, but I'm like, hey, I don't have time for this, I have to dive into music, people would trust that, hey, it's a business, let's not just drop it, somebody can kind of fill the spot or something like that. So we'll see what my 30s look like, you know, but I'm excited, you know.
I'm excited too, all right?
Appreciate it, bro.
So that's the interview. That's part 2. This has been Justin Callender on Wake Up New Bedford.
Appreciate it.
Please check him out on his social medias, and look out for the next networking event on Valentine's Day.
Open mic.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Look out for the open mic on Valentine's Day. But then also keep a lookout for his upcoming album, Blackout.
Yes, please.
Okay? I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.